Okay, same money, same starting line. So if rich people are just normal people with bigger numbers, this should be easy. Wait, he spent the money too. Yes, but he spent it on something designed to keep existing after the money left his account.
That feels personal.
Here is the part nobody tells you. Wealth is not just more money. At a certain point, money starts changing which moves are available to you. And some of those moves are not hidden by a conspiracy. They are hidden by paperwork, access, collateral, and the fact that most people never get close enough to see them. Most people meet money as income. You work, money arrives. Then life immediately begins taking pieces of it back. Wealth changes the equation because more of your financial life can come from ownership. Shares in companies, property, businesses, intellectual property, or other assets that can grow or produce cash flow. So rich people do not work. Some work obsessively. The difference is that labor can stop being the only engine. So the first rule is not earn more. It is own more of what earns. So everybody is watching the paycheck, while the real scoreboard is ownership. Now you are looking at the right board. I was told debt is bad. Your debt might be bad. For someone with unstable income and no assets, expensive debt can destroy flexibility. But if you own valuable assets and have reliable cash flow, lenders may offer completely different terms. That can allow wealthy borrowers to borrow against assets instead of selling them immediately. The asset can remain invested while the loan provides cash now. So they keep the thing and still get money? Sometimes. But do not confuse leverage with free money. There is interest. There is collateral risk. If the asset falls hard enough, leverage can become brutal. Still sounds like debt has two personalities. Exactly. Debt is not one product. Your balance sheet changes how the financial system sees you. We both made $100. Not in the same way. Of course you would say that. Tax systems distinguish between wages, business income, interest, dividends, and capital gains. Timing matters too. If an asset rises in value, that increase is not automatically the same as cash salary arriving in your bank account. In the United States, a capital gain is generally calculated when you sell or otherwise dispose of the asset. So the rich person's secret is never pay tax? No, that is the internet version. The real advantage is control over structure and timing. Ownership can create choices that a paycheck does not. And wealthy people can pay accountants and lawyers to understand those choices before they make a move. So the secret is not knowing the tax code. The secret is hiring someone who does. Wait, you need to be rich to be allowed into the rich people investment room? In some cases, yes. In the United States, many private securities offerings limit participation to accredited investors or place restrictions on non-accredited investors. And what makes you accredited? A test? Sometimes professional credentials qualify. But the classic financial thresholds include more than $1 million in net worth, excluding your primary residence, or certain high income levels. So there is literally a door with a number on it. For some private deals, there really is. Now, private does not mean better. Private investments can be illiquid, opaque, and risky. But the important point is access. Wealth can expand the menu. When people imagine wealth, they picture cars, watches, and houses. But one of the most valuable things money buys is almost invisible. Access. Access to experienced advisors. Access to people who have solved the problem before. Access to introductions. Sometimes access to opportunities that never reach a public feed. Where did you find that deal? Dinner. I had noodles. Networks compound just like money. One useful relationship can create 10 more. And this is where money slowly turns into power. Not because every rich person controls the world, but because access reduces friction. The phone call gets returned. The lawyer knows the banker knows the buyer knows the founder. And I know a guy who can get us 15% off a sofa. We all start somewhere. This may be the most underrated rule of all. Wealth buys time. If you need cash next Friday, you may have to sell at the worst possible moment. If you have years of financial runway, you can wait through downturns, negotiate longer, take calculated risks, and say no to bad offers. So patience is easier when your landlord is not texting you. Exactly. And that creates one of the strangest loops in money. The people with the least urgency often have the most bargaining power because they can walk away. Because they can walk away. The ability to say no is a financial asset. So the final level is more money? No. More assets? No. A yacht? Please stop guessing. The final level is options. Money can buy comfort. Ownership can create cash flow. Credit can create leverage. Networks can create access. Time can create patience. Put them together and you get the thing that changes the game. The ability to choose. A wealthy person can still make terrible decisions. They can lose money. They can overborrow. They can trust the wrong person. Wealth is not immunity from stupidity. Finally, a rule I qualify for. But wealth can give you more chances to be wrong without being finished. That is why two people can start with the same amount of cash and slowly end up playing completely different games. One is trying to earn more money. The other is building ownership. One sees debt as a bill. The other may see credit as a tool. One searches for opportunities. The other may be introduced to them. One is forced to act now. The other can wait. So the game is rigged? I did not say that. But I am saying this. Once money becomes wealth, the rules do not disappear. You just get access to more of them. Which one of these rules surprised you most? And if you want the next episode, we can go one level deeper. Why billionaires borrow money when they could just pay cash.